Well, thanks to all of you that have joined us for our monthly webinar here at Vozic AI. I want to I want to start off today with just a quick observation that we hear from many of the subscription operators that we talk to on a weekly basis. You can't discount or save everyone, and you can't. It may feel like you can't treat every customer the same, but many organizations are still making decisions that way because it's hard to know where to focus. So today we're going to show predictive CLV optimization in action. This is the idea that customer value isn't just something that you look backward to calculate. It's something you really can predict forward. And then using that information, use it to choose the right actions for your customers. Really treat them as individual customers. Which customers deserve proactive offers? Which experiences need to be improved? Where pricing can be optimized? And where investment is going to generate the most enterprise value. So my name is Brandon Savage. I'm the head of solution enablement here at Vozic AI. I spent the first 2 decades of my career in recurring revenue industries and particularly the electronic security industry, the ADTs of the world. And the last few stops on executive teams for companies I was working for, my teams were responsible for retention. And these were decisions that we had to deal with. I'm the one who had to go into the executive meeting once a month and report on attrition. And it was my throat that was choked when we weren't hitting our goals. And I'm really excited about the solution that we have and what we're going to be able to share with you today. Turn the time over to Vasu to introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, everyone, for joining on your Friday. I'm super excited about the topic today because this is going to straight into money. And then I have not just one use case, not two use cases, I have three use cases to share with you today on how subscription businesses can use predictive CLV to drive growth. Brandon, looking forward to this.
As we look at the customer lifecycle funnel, the examples of Vasu will share with you are going to come from all across that funnel. We're going to look at opportunities to be able to keep your customers. We're going to look at ways that you can grow your existing customer base and look at the beginning of the funnel and how you can get more customers using this predictive customer lifetime value tool and metric. We've had the opportunity to partner with some of the largest recurring revenue businesses in several different industries to apply our advisory partnerships and also our supporting software to help them to increase their customer lifetime value of their base and to grow the enterprise value of their businesses. You'll see several examples listed here. We do these every month, and if you want to be able to look at some of our past webinars, you can always go to our website and see and access those past webinars where some of them go into vertical specific, some go into more specific examples. Sometimes it's just a chat with other experts within various industries and within retention specifically. So I'm going to turn the time over to Vasu to look specifically at how you can use customer lifetime value in a predictive way to grow your subscription business.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandon. So let's get this one going. I'm going to just use a couple of slides just to kind of illustrate the importance of this idea of predictive CLV. And I'm going to just use these two customer examples, customer A on the left side paying $100 a month, and then customer B on the right side. Brandon, is there any lag? Okay, yeah. Customer B on the right side, paying, let's say, $50 a month for easy math, right? So now on the surface, the left side looks far more valuable compared to the right side. What this leads to is maybe, putting a red carpet to the left side customer and maybe, kind of delivering, subpar experiences to the right side customer until we really know that the customer on the left side is coming with high churn and the right side is staying with us for about 5 years, translating into $3,000 of value compared to $600 of value on the right side. So this is what we are calling, unless we clearly understand the differences between these to customers. We are, it's essentially for subscription businesses, enterprise value killer, right? If we treat all the customers exactly the same way. Now, I have another slide. What does that, lack of understanding of true value of the customer is also indirectly translating to is our C-level leaders are probably unintentionally working against themselves, right? So our chief operating officer may not be optimizing the experiences for some of these, high value customers. And our CMO might be under investing in acquiring these very high value customers by spreading thin with all the marketing dollars. And our CFO could also be optimizing short-term revenue without having a good lens to see what really creates the long-term value or enterprise value. So all these leaders, while they're all looking to grow the company, they could be kind of unintentionally working against each other, which is what we are calling, maybe this is tax on enterprise value, right? Unless we have a crystal ball. Now, as a solution to this, before I jump into the solution, kind of talk about use cases and things like that, the solution that we are proposing here is, in this day and age with predictions, predictive analytics becoming so good, right? Every subscription business has a phenomenal opportunity to truly start understanding their customers. I'll go a little deeper into how we do this, but let's stay on the high level topic by introducing this predictive CLV. Now, what is predictive CLV? As opposed to kind of doing all these cohorts, hey, by the way, our average customer stays with us for 5 years and pays $600 of revenue per year or $50 a month. And now we can translate all of that into the average $3,000 of lifetime revenue that we are collecting before even the costs and all of that. All of that is just the average. But we know not every customer is equal, like the example that we saw, $50 customer versus $100 customer with completely two different ways of continuing the journey with us. Now, if we open the hood, you may have three different plans: a platinum plan, maybe a gold plan, and a silver plan, something that might be costing $40 a month or for $80 of ACV. But if we truly look at their lifetime high churn versus low churn, this $40 customer could be valued only $400 if they're coming with high churn that we can easily predict. But if the same customer, same revenue, is predicted as low churn customer, that $400, $500 value could easily be turning into $2,000. By the way, these are very, very realistic examples that we see over and over, right? And that concept applies to whether you have a silver plan or maybe a gold plan, kind of getting maybe $10 more per month or another $120 per year. That lifetime value could be spreading between $600 to $3,000, and even more if we look diagonally, right? $300 of value to $3,000 of value, or a 10x difference in the true value of your customers. If we can truly understand the value of every single customer, and then figuring out, like, if we know this value at the customer level, what can we do in a proactive way? Many examples, we can actually lower the risk. We can upgrade them from plan to plan. Even in subscription cases, like, sometimes there is price increases and things like that. We can manage that without lowering the attrition, right? Sometimes, like, the customer is already high risk, we increase their price, only to lose that particular customer, right? All of these are very, very realistic use cases. Let me switch into the application and give you an idea about how we make all of this work using the data that you already have, maybe combining that with a little bit of third-party data, right? What I want to emphasize in my demo is not just looking at predictions. The real beauty here is turning all your data into predictions, using various models that I'm illustrating. I'm going to emphasize two things on this call. How do we put our customers into what we are calling microsegments, right? Microsegments could be, a basic customer with high value living in a high dense area, right? It could be, someone who's budget conscious. Maybe we just acquired them. They're only consuming basic services from us, right? It could be any of those types of segments. But the idea is not to treat all the customers the same way when we have a 10x spread in our true customer value that we acquire over a period of time. And the second part to this, once we segment our customers into microsegments, is defining relevant offers that are targeted for each customer, not broad brush offers. Hey, this is end of contract or 12 months or an anniversary, let's give the same offer to everyone, which happens more often. But if we truly understand the values of each customers and put them into microsegments, we can do beautiful things, which is what I'm going to demonstrate. Once we have this framework, we can just now operationalize this through marketing, through call center. If you have field service, field service or website, right? All these things are fine. But the key that I'm going to be emphasizing is thinking about our customer microsegments and coming up with proactive offers before it is too late. Right? So with that as the background, let's switch into the application. I'm going to share my screen. This is a demo application, but definitely allows us to share realistic scenarios. What I have here, I'm going to talk about, it's a platform that runs in the cloud, in a very secure environment, but it can enable multiple scenarios for you to truly manage your lifetime value. Starts with lead scoring. The number one thing that I want to highlight, even before we acquire that customer, based on the attributes, how did we acquire the lead? Where that lead might be living in a high dense area, urban area, rural area, maybe some of the basic information that we can collect. This is already assigning values to the leads that we have, not just assigning a star rating for how likely this customer is going to convert, but also if the customer converts, what is the likely value? Now, how do we get that value? Right? It is actually looking at multiple variables. It's a residential lead. The lead actually came as an inbound through digital marketing, and that lead might be living in a very wealthy neighborhood with $1 million home, right? It uses all these variables to now assign a lead value. Now, this is where it is important for us, instead of now giving a blanket offer to everyone, we do not want to lose these. In that example that I gave, the $3,000 long-term loyal customer, even if we need to give a little more incentive, that is where we want to stretch that offer and acquire that customer, because we know that this is a long-term customer and all of that. The end result is we end up acquiring more customers. In fact, we end up acquiring more and also more high-value customers, right? That is a relatively straightforward way of focusing on the value of the customer and then converting higher value customers by stretching the dollars a little bit, but not really doing the same thing for lower value customers. In fact, we want to be careful with our expenses on lower value customers, right? By distinguishing between high value and low value, we should be able to acquire more leads. And then the solution also comes up with this micro segmentation and then giving recommended offers and all of that type of thing. So when you have this insight, the next step of defining microsegments and targeted offers, by ensuring net present value always remains positive, or these are all CFO approved positive value creating offers, we can confidently deploy this and acquire higher value. In reality, how this looks like is, instead of looking at all the leads the same way, we can convert the leads from 5-star leads that are converting higher to 1-star leads that are converting lower, and also spreading this from, let's say if the average lifetime value is 2,500, who are the $2,000 lifetime value leads and who are the $3,000 lifetime value leads. And the key is making sure that we don't lose, or we actually tweak different offers for these high value customers, right? When you do that in a very strategic way, you're acquiring higher value customers and also leaning more and more towards these offers that might incent a little bit for those high value customers, right? The end result is we end up with more customers. So we just talked about get customers in the funnel. I'm going to talk about keep customers, and then we'll talk about grow customers, right? This get, keep, grow is a beautiful flywheel that can be implemented for subscription companies with this approach, right? So now in the keep situation, same situation. For every single customer, if you have 100,000 customers or 10 million customers, every single customer, with these predictive scoring and all of that at the customer level, we don't really have to wait until the customer calls and complains about something or decides to cancel, we can proactively score the customer for potential attrition risk and immediately assign a lifetime value number, right? So in this case, this is relatively higher attrition, 32%. This customer is lower attrition. Because of higher attrition, the system is assigning $1,300 value, but because of lower attrition, $3,000 value. Now, the good news here is this $1,300 value can be absolutely increased using various techniques, right? Because this customer is not yet saying, I want to cancel. We just have that microscopic lens for us to understand this thing, along with what is causing the risk, for the value to go lower, right? So if we have all of that type of insight, then what we can do is put all the customers into these segments. Who are the low value customers and high value customers? What plans did they buy and things like that? Now we can use these micro segments to decide, do we want to lower the risk or move the customer from left side, which is high risk, to right side, which is low risk, or do we want to upgrade them, right? Regardless of when we move them from left to right, it is creating more value, or when we move them diagonally from the basic plan into advanced plan or advanced plan into premium plan, we are also creating value, right? This is how the whole thing works. When you have churn scores and lifetime value scores, that allows us to immediately define some bunch of proactive offers and then immediately get into, let's say when this customer calls or we decide to call them, right? We already know what is causing the trouble. In this case, lower usage, higher trouble, maybe higher, revenue and all of that type of thing. But the system can now start recommending targeted offers. The next customer will get completely different offers. But in this case, it is recommending some equipment with some small rate adjustment. Again, NPV is calculated. These are proven to be profitable offers, right? So this is how, we can also not just apply this technique on sales with lead value scoring and lead conversion scoring. We can also apply this for retention with churn risk scoring and lifetime value scoring and offer optimization, right? So that's the technique that we are using here. And finally, I'm going to use another example where how do we optimize the prices? Same technique applies, for upgrades also in a profitable way before it is too late. But in many subscription companies, we have seen they also optimize rates. Inflation, increases our cost to serve, and we are required to, maintain our profitability. Maybe small increases in price, but the problem there is when we increase the price, in a blanket way, hey, you didn't get any price increase in the last 12 months, let's increase the price. Unfortunately, we are increasing the prices for someone who is negotiating lower prices, right? By calling us, or maybe we are, increasing the prices for these high price sensitive customers who might be living on a budget and things like that. All of this data is actually indirectly available for us to infer and put the customers into different scenarios. So the way this thing works is we can again look at the plans. We can look at their MRR or ARR. We can immediately translate that into, is this already above average rate or below average rate? More importantly, identify the price sensitivity of the customer, high, medium, low, and then decide what is the price increase. So I'm going to take an example of this basic customer paying $50. Now, basic is supposed to get lower price, but in this case, this is already $10 above. And on top of this, this customer is flagged by the prediction algorithms as a high price sensitive customer, right? Using all the variables, right? Based on the number of, conversations that we had in the past, what they're buying, when they're buying, how they use the system and the neighborhood, right? All of that we can infer this is a higher price sensitive customer. So the system is saying, don't bother increasing the price. If you increase the price, this customer is more likely to cancel, right? We would rather keep them and not aggravate this situation. On the other hand, the other basic customer here is paying below average and is also flagged as low price sensitive. In this case, dollar increase or higher dollar value increase. So instead of increasing 5% average, this customer could be getting, a 7% or a 10% increase, and the system is predicting there is no risk in increasing prices for this particular customer. And there are a bunch of other cases for various plans, various price sensitivity levels, so on and so forth, right? In reality, how this looks like is we are segmenting customers from left to right on price sensitivity. Left side is more sensitive, right side is less sensitive. And then we are also segmenting, regardless of the plans that they have, are you above the price or below the price? The risk area is here. They're already paying more. They're already price sensitive. Let's not increase this. Maybe we should de-risk the customer by giving them some incentives and upgrades and price adjustments and things like that. Now is absolutely not the time to increase the price. In this case, they are paying below, even though they're probably a little price sensitive. Maybe a small increase is okay. Small increase here is okay. But this is where they're underpaying and also not that price sensitive. So this is where you can extract a lot of value by increasing the prices above average, right? So by using these strategies in a very targeted way, by attacking CLV, what we are doing is essentially bringing our CFO operation, bringing our CMO operation, bringing our COO operation all aligned on what is the quickest way or the more unified way to grow our enterprise value, right? So those are my three use cases on how this whole thing works. Let me go back into the solution, into my slides, and give you examples of when we implemented these things, what type of value are some of our customers realizing. Here I have a customer example, Brentpoint. This is from home security company. A lot of tech, a lot of call center, a lot of field presence, all of that. Top 5 DIY pioneer. They implemented this CLV aware operations through their contact center and through their web portal. Actually, many of these things are fully automated. Customer doesn't even call. Whenever they log in into the website, they see some, value aware offers that are available. When they implemented all of this, they realized about $20 million of lifetime value increase or straight away enterprise value increase. Essentially by lowering their attrition by 250 basis points and then doing a lot of these proactive renewals. Right? The second example that I have is from another, close to 1 million subscribers. This customer is one of our long-term customers. They implemented very similar solution, multiple use cases through the customer care, through email, through web, through chat, all of that. And then they realized a whopping $100 million of lifetime value increase. They're doing this, at a pretty high scale. What I love about this implementation is, as we did all of these, NPS is also really, really increasing, right? So this is like, a win in multiple areas here, right? So finally, I want to leave you with some ideas and inspiration. What I want to emphasize for all the audience on the call, it is not just the technology, how we operationalize the technology. And, we came up with a solution that, first of all, gives all these predictive models and integration of all your internal data sources and external data sources. We give you a platform that also comes with expert-led implementation services, which is what Veronica, who's there now promoted as chief customer officer, kind of appreciates about this particular approach, bringing both the technology and expertise together. And Derek has to, also realized, $20 million of lifetime value increase. But his main point is, having a team that is focused relentlessly on this one initiative, retention, which is, the best way to increase the enterprise value, in his opinion, is increasing, contributing pretty heavily to their enterprise value increase, right? So very satisfying to see these types of codes for the implementations on top of tens of millions of dollars in value. The last thing I want to highlight is we also are winning, happy about these awards. Last year, we were recognized across a nationwide initiative to identify who's creating not just implementation awards, but who's creating impact, right, or enterprise value impact. And we are proud to say that, we won this award against many other participants who are doing impressive things, but struggling to demonstrate the value on the scales that I kind of mentioned with 20 million and $100 million of value. So with that, Brandon, I'll pass it to you on how to get started.
If you've been watching and this has piqued your interest, and you can see how being able to predict each individual customer lifetime value would help you and your business to make better decisions and to increase the enterprise value of your company, we'd love to talk. What we have available for you is a 4-week, no cost proof of value trial where we will work with you and your data team to ingest some key pieces of your data and then run our predictive models on that data to discover what are the opportunities in the business case for you in your business if we were to partner with you and use these models. We'll put together an entire business case and an executive readout and share with you the reason and the business case for partnering together. We give you an analysis of your current customer base to be able to see your high-risk customers and what are some of the biggest things that are influencing your customers to churn. And then once you have that executive readout, then you can decide whether or not it would make sense to go even further. We'll already have the environment set up with your data in it. We'll continue to add more data to it, and we can work together as partners. We know that leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning with your existing data, blending that with outside third-party data, and to calculate the risk score and customer lifetime value of each of your customers gives you a powerful opportunity to make better decisions, to treat every customer uniquely, and to focus on where you can increase the customer lifetime value of each of your customers. Thanks again for spending time with us today. You can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or to Vasu on LinkedIn. You can also email us at info@vosic.ai. We really appreciate you joining us today. We're excited to help you turn your customer data into a real competitive edge. Thank you very much.